Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast from New Delhi, India. I have Kundan Kumar, and he is the people, perspective, and possibility guy, redefining human mindset that makes sense. And I'm really happy to have a spiritual and personal development coach on the show, and I'm really happy to have him discuss his experience and his work to the audience. So, Kundan, welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself and we'll dive into the work that you're doing.
Okay, so in a very simple way, I'm a human being who is just trying to make more sense of their life, trying to understand and declutter the complexities. So here I am. I have changed a lot of jobs. I've been into corporate business and now trying to help out people. So yeah, that's all about me.
Yeah. Excellent. And so we'll dive into the question. So when people when clients come to you, what is their pain, frustration, or what are they trying to achieve?
I think the biggest thing, challenge what people face is they don't have an idea how to think. As in, I call it always like I teach people think how to think. Yeah, it's a very simple thing, and most of the time is that we don't know what we do every day.
Yeah.
So honestly speaking, we don't know how to breathe, we don't know how to sit, we don't know how to walk, we don't know. As in, we know, and we know to a point where it gets the work done. But when you want to really make sense of a lot of things, there are tiny simple steps. If you somebody would have taught you right, uh, the ripple effect would have been much larger. So I think I get onto the course correction mode for the first 3 months, and that's how I start like a baby. And I share this with my client, and they get to surprise the results that they get. Can you hear me, see me? Hello. Okay, I think we have lost Chris. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes for him to come back. Okay. Hopefully, he should be here any minute. And let me adjust my. I'm still in the show. I hope I am connected. It's taking time for Chris.
Hello. Sorry. See here.
And here he is. I shouldn't say people don't know how to think. It's just many a times we don't give so much of effort on thinking, analyzing our thought. So I just help them, to some little bit of course correction that
Yeah.
gets them the very clear results.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
excellent. And what's interesting is you come from you come from India, which is a very spiritual place, and there's a lot of yogis and a lot of spirituality, Eastern philosophy. So what type of philosophies do you incorporate to help people achieve greatness in their careers and their finances and their business and their relationships?
Right. So actually, I have my own. So I have a very good amalgamation of Indian spirituality as well as the global knowledge. So I try to bring all of them together. And there is this framework that I have developed. I call it a 4S framework. My first book is with the publishers now to get onto the market. And that talks about how the life and the human maturity evolves on 4 stages. The first one is survival, where whenever we start something new, we're always in the state of somehow survive there. Then
Mhm.
comes the superiority, where we want to show off, where we want to dominate, where we want to just take over somebody. Okay, that's a very human thing. And then comes the self-attainment, where you suddenly get mature. You feel like, no, that's all quest is unnecessary. I just make sure that I want to lead a good life. And then suddenly your identity becomes important. And finally, the spirituality. So you're very right. I was so keen to get onto this podcast because you give me that platform to talk about. And so when I dig deeper, and since you talked about the spiritual side of it, I think all these four do not fall onto the overall life, but then the life has 6 different pillars, which I further divide into, which is like the physical, which your body. Even though suddenly the emotions have, or the mental well-being has taken a lot of space, but I think they coexist. As in, you cannot have a mental peace without a good body, and you cannot have a good body without a mental peace. So it's so I talk about these physical, the emotional, and then comes the professional, then comes the financial, then comes the relational and social. So there is a very beautiful dance between these 4S and the 6 pillars. where I create a map and I let people identify what area do you want to really want to work on. And that kind of makes things very clear for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And once you design your life, once you focus on that one thing, you help people talk about the 2% rule and how small wins create big life transformations.
Absolutely, yeah. So usually nowadays, if you see most of the influencers and the leaders are very charismatic who promise you result within a week. Uh, I really give a red flag to it because the life which you have spent like 30 years, 40 years. So if I get a client who's 30-year old, I say you've really worked hard to spoil your life for 30 years. You need to spend at least 5% of it to course correct it, which comes out to be 1.5 year. So, and that 1.5 year journey starts with 2% change. Suddenly, I cannot ask you or give you a list of, do's and don'ts and ask you to follow. No, there is a certain structure and system what got you here. You got to understand your culture. You got to understand your family. You got to understand your resources. If you have less money, it doesn't mean you cannot win. If you have, lagging something on your energy, you just have to understand. And that's where the 2% rule comes, is that I give a very marginal change, but it suddenly compounds over the months and years, and people see very dramatic and magical results.
Yeah, interesting. I'm curious because you're in the East and the proportion of, here in the West, we have a all or nothing mindset. And, a lot of authors are talking about mastering the art of progress. And so, talk about how you incorporate Eastern philosophy in helping clients break free from the all or nothing mindset.
So that's why on all over the social media, my name, which I am kind of promoting myself, is called Unbinary Kundan. And that's basically breaking this notion of zero or one, black and white, true and false, yes and no. Uh, that it's life doesn't work that way. Machines work that way. Okay.
Yeah.
Machines have logical gates, which tells you the answers, whether things going to work or not. In human life, it's very dynamic dance. The moment you start looking in yes and no, for sure the life will go on. The beauty of life is it doesn't matter how bad or good your philosophy is, you will survive, you will live. Now the quality of life depends on how well you understand it. Okay.
Uh,
So that's where I really give example to the people as an to understand that how exactly when there is a two choices between yes and no, how about starting with both or none? You shouldn't just jump onto one conclusion and leaving the other, because there is always a polarity. So there could be a chance, and if your analysis leads to just one of the answers, bingo. But the moment you don't let your brain even think on both the options or none of the options, I think is a disaster and it's a waste of human brain.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Um, the other thing is, talk about how you promote systemic thinking, helping someone tackle complex life challenges, whether personal or professional.
Yeah. So as you can understand, even though my conversation is very Western, there are a lot of muscle fibers within it is Eastern and spiritual. So why I do not want to put it right at the heading of being spiritual, because it repels many of the rational thinkers. It suddenly feels like something goody goody talk or something. You just talk about being nice, and the moment you step out of the room, it doesn't help you anyways. So sorry, coming back to what you said is if you really look into, and it took me 20 years to reach here to understand all these things. We all are outcome of certain system, right? And that system could be our country. So suddenly somebody coming from India has a certain set of traits that we share, and that's come from a nationality, a system. Okay. Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, suddenly there was a glitch, so I thought of. Anyways, so I very much believe in a line which I call it: we all are, our behavior is outcome of the the structure. So, for example, we both are sitting online is a structural thing that we have to talk online, and we are nice, we are smiling to each other, and this fine. Had it been a different structure, we both have been sitting, face to face, I'm sure the energy would have been different. Our behaviors would have been slightly different. Okay, so I try to let people understand that what system you are operating in. So let's say if we are talking only about professional pillar, tell me about your job, about your company, about the people you are working, what kind of system you are sitting. If that system is not helping you, change the system. But if there is something good in that system, you should stick to it. Now, suddenly, if somebody is going through a personal problem, I want to understand the system of their house, of their family, of their society. You cannot mix both of them. So that systemic thinking is very important, because we don't exist solo. We exist to operate as a system. You know, even the outside world, where the humans are the I can say the smallest entity, where like we coming together form a family, bunch of families coming together forms a society, those society coming together forms a country, and so that's a system. Now, the moment you start moving inside your body, then suddenly there is a system. That respiratory system is there, the cardiovascular system is there, your you know nervous system is there. All of these coming together to form you as a system. So I am very much a big fan of anybody who I want to work with. I want to understand your system, so
Mm,
that whatever I am saying, I just suddenly cannot say anybody that, hey, you should eat avocado for to being healthy. If the family is all non-vegetarian, I have to find a way out what exactly works for you. So that's where I stick to the system and structure side of the thinking, and then having a solution around it.
mm. And how do you address, because if someone is feeling stuck in life or feels aimless and meaningless, and especially I mean, I'm from an Asian background, born here, and then my in Asian culture, you're it's ingrained in you to be either doctor, engineer, dentist, some professional. And so what if that in, ingrained ideas and beliefs do not is not what you're innately wanting to do? And how do what do you do when clients come to you to try to find meaning and purpose when their parents are like, you're going to be a doctor, there's no other way, but they want to be an artist, or they want to be a musician, or they want to be a investor or entrepreneur? How do you address those things?
That's a very interesting one. And I am also coming from a background from India. It's very much a part of Asia, and we
Yeah.
have the similar kind of mindset. Parents dominate our decisions, either a doctor or an engineer. And if you go abroad, it's a good thing in the society. So all those things happen. But here I am. I have
Mm.
challenged all those notions. My only point is, childhood is something that you cannot control. But what exactly are you doing as being an adult? Okay.
Yeah.
If whatever you are doing, if it is working for you, forget right and wrong, just do it. But if it is not working for you, then you got to make some changes. And there is nothing better than being an adult. So the only advantage of being an adult is the freedom that you get.
Mm.
And most of the people don't know how to use that freedom.
Mhm.
Okay. And most of the people live that dysfunctional adult. I would give you an example when you talked about it, is that it would be a little disheartening to hear this out, but I think most of the people love to stick to that mindset of being stuck. It's their purpose. Okay. Uh, so I'll give you an example. If you look at the life, there is a certain standard operating procedure society has given it to you, that you have to get into school, you have to do 10 years of education, then you go to another 2 plus, and then 3 plus, right? And then you get graduated. And suddenly after graduation, you get a job. And after job, you get married, and then you have to have a child. The moment if you give somebody, like let's take an example of job, suddenly you got a freedom. What do you do with the freedom? You go and party out wild. You have your friends, night outs, a lot of dancing, everything is fun, which you should celebrate. But if for some reason you did it for a long number of years, let's say for 10 years, but after 4 or 5 years, your friend starts getting married because they are following the society's standard operating procedures, and now you are getting left out, and you don't know what to do, because suddenly you are not fitting in the SOP, and you have not created something for yourself. And those are the people who feel stuck.
Mm.
The moment you know that, hey, I have to utilize my time, I have to make something. Okay, there are advantages of being single and there are advantages of being married. But the people who are married are stuck in the marriage, and the people who are single are stuck not finding somebody. So I believe this is more of a mindset where I work with people. I really diagnose them. Are they even really ready to open? Coming to an expert doesn't mean that you are open for it. Okay. And many a times it's your purpose that keeps you busy to remain stuck. It gives you a brain something to complain to the world, and you feel superior, and it goes on and on and on. So out of all the people, There are a lot of people I turn down because they are still not ready to be changed. Only 5 or 7% people, I believe, who really want to change, and they find the way. So being stuck is both the outcome. There are situations where it holds you, but it's hardly 1 or 2%. Most of the people who are stuck, you got to look back and understand that, do you really want to change? And if yes, you have a lot of people like Chris and me to help you out. It's
Mm,
a saying in India that once you start, the moment you start looking for learning, you find your teacher.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
fascinating. Um, the other question I have for you is because you were talking about in a lot of we're programmed like you talked about freedom as an adult, um, but before that, you're conditioned by your parents and society to think and believe and act in certain ways. And what if like somebody's like for example, there's a lot of doctors on the podcast listening, and they're listening to this. They're like, yeah, I went to school, got into debt, I went to med school, residency, I'm attending, I have a nice job, I have a wife and kids and car, we can all of this. And then suddenly they wake up one day and they're like, my life is a fake. This is not what I
Right.
want to do. How
Yeah.
does one develop self-awareness to prevent themselves from getting into this situation and just wasting like decades of their life doing something that, they were programmed to do versus what they wanted to do?
Yeah. So I believe nothing happens overnight unless you
Yeah.
have met a very big accident or suddenly somebody has died right in front of you. Unless there is a big structural changes, nobody, gets that awakening.
Yeah.
There is a high possibility that it has been brewing inside, which you have been suppressing,
Yeah.
and suddenly one day you say enough. Okay. So, welcome to that. The idea is we ask anybody that however heightened emotion you are, whether it is a good or bad one, try not to take a decision. Just hold it for a day or two, because you'll see a lot of people make decisions on the happy hour saying that from tomorrow I'm going to give it to my boss. Or, I'm going to start my company. And the next Monday morning, you see them back onto their, regular routine. So it's beautiful. And that's, I think, is the beauty of being human, honestly.
Yeah.
It's good to have those drama around. It's good to have those frustration, because suddenly you do the stress eating, suddenly you go out to booze, suddenly you just get frustrated and go out to do the star watching. I said stargazing. These are beautiful things. Enjoy it being a human. Okay. And then at the corner somewhere nurture it that, hey, there is a little tiny spark in me that I want to do something on my own. That doesn't mean that again it's a rational and a binary thinking that I have to discard this to get attain this. No, it's not like that. And
Um,
the life is very beautiful. And in my coaching, I give two exercises to people. One is that suddenly you have 1 month to live. Okay, doctor has given you notice that you cannot live more than a month. Okay, what would you do? And I go to old age home. Um, uh, you there, Chris? I see you. Your screen is frozen. I hope the recording is going on. Um, Now, I'm totally enjoying it with the Chris, so I don't want to lose his expressions. It's feels good to have a buddy while you're talking. And we'll wait. Okay. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. I think Chris would be back any minute. There is some internet challenges that he's facing. All right, all right. It's a fun conversation. You're really asking good questions. Maybe a minute or two more. He should be anytime in here. Okay, let's wait for Chris. StreamYard. We should have him any minute.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, we were talking about the exercise that I give to people, and that if you have just 1 month to live, how exactly do you want to plan your life? And I do visit hospitals, I do visit to cancer patients, and what I have seen is that people are willing to pay lakhs of rupees or thousands of dollars even to survive one another day. See that same irritating family, same irritating people around you, just to live one another day. Trust me, the beauty of the life is that you got 24 hours, you got 7 days, you got 30 days a month, or maybe 365 days a year. You don't have to do every moment. I'm sorry, you don't have to do everything every moment, right? So if I have certain spark in me, you can plan for Saturdays and Sundays to work out. And trust me, if there is something, awakening is there, if there is any calling, even if you spend 2 hours a week, that kind of builds up quite good within a couple of years. So it's many a times, being a adult, that's the beauty, and let your brain go wild, let your child play. I think it comes out to be something very, being that human. I enjoy that human drama, and even in me, I love that.
Yeah. And how can people contact you and connect with you and learn from you?
So mostly I'm active on LinkedIn because I think that's the crowd where I resonate most.
Mhm.
I am all across, even if you Google me by the name of Unbinary Kundan, it's UNBINARYKUNDAN. You'll find all about me. It's like all my podcasts, all my, website. You'll get to know my LinkedIn, Instagram page, but mostly I'm active on LinkedIn. And yeah, I'm still trying to work out my books. So hopefully a lot of word will spread around.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on and keep up the great work.
Sure. And Chris, I just want to admire that the kind of questions you came up with was one of the best ones I have had on the podcast. I really enjoyed it. That was really good. And I'm sure you're working hard for your people. So thank you so much for doing this, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you. And I really enjoy talking to you, and I love your passion and your energy.
Thank you. Same here. All right. Then all the best to you.
Yeah.